So we are gonna start the conversation of today. Before starting our activity of today, we want to thank you. Radio Rising Nectar, which is recording all the conversation, and so thank you very much. Thank you. So before starting what we're going to do today, I just want to introduce a little bit myself, the guys that are working with me on this project, and a little bit the conceptual core of the project. My name is Simone Frangi. I am an art writer and curator, and I initiated this research program in 2011, at the end of 2011, with artist Alessandro Di Pietro and Pietro Spoto. This project is called Measuring, Permanent Research Program on Inobjectivity. So it's a project that tries to survey all concepts and notions linked to spatial representation and measuring practices in contemporary art. Trying to put this measuring practices in contemporary art in a very large sense in relationship to other measuring practices and coding practices in other contemporary practices such science and architecture, urbanism, and so on. We call this project Permanent Research Program because actually it's a project that it's carried on through a very ambiguous and expanded dispositive that we calling upon. So the idea is that we are always in the spirit of the research, and this research formalizes himself in a conversational occasion. These conversational occasions are defined calling upon because they are a sort of hybrid form between a round table and a conversational piece which is carried on by invitation and self-invitation. The whole atmosphere of the project is very informal, which means that we are working on the semantics of academic communication, such as round table, lecture, talk, presentation, but trying to correct them and to reassess these devices through a informal mode. This project formalized actually twice in the past. We had a residency program last year in 2012 at Via Farini in residence. We were there for 3 months, and we had the chance to work on our first 4 calling upon, so 4 conversational activities. And the second formalization was in September, last September. We were invited at the festival Cosmic Things, which is a festival that's about the relationship between science and art. And what we did there was not a talk, was not a seminar, was a program of speed dating between artists and scientists. What we're going to do today is the 5th version of the Calling Upon. We decided to work with the participants of the Biennale, and we actually identified 4 researches that has, in a way, something to do with our research. And so we decided to invite at the table to give a short presentation and to give some inputs for a conversational program. Enrico Boccioletti, who is presenting his work now. Roberto Fassone, Etienne de France, and Fabian Bertle, right? So what we're gonna do today is listen a little bit what they have to say about their work. We just asked them to try to present their work in a way that could really make a sort of link with the core of the project, but we didn't give rules or strict instructions. So the idea of the program is a little bit see what happens. Thank you very much. And we have 4 speakers, but actually the program is open. You can interfere whenever you want and in every kind of way you think it's appropriate. Okay, thank you very much. So I'm gonna leave the
Hello, everybody. My name is Enrico Boccioletti, and I'm gonna start, I don't know, talking about my work, Translationships, which is also presented here in the library section of the Biennale in the form of a booklet, which in some way is trying to collect. This is the book you can pass through, and is an attempt to collect a series of gestures which come from the failed attempt of making a record in my activity as musician. It consists in multiple versions of this record to its, I don't know, final disintegration and dematerialization into something else, which is actually two videos, one previous version of a video uploaded to YouTube and a proof of removal, the booklet itself, which is a collection of thoughts which are also collected in the more essay form video, which is one of the two, and the other video, which I don't have here available, is the final incarnation of the record, stretched to 74 minutes, which is the standard record time of a CDR, paired to some performing material and images I was collecting for actually the video clips, for making video clips for this failed attempt of making the record. And actually what started from this experience is kind of I don't know, subsequent speculation on the act of making something, and perception of the self, and how do you I found this, I don't know, particularly right for this occasion, because it's kind of a attempt of measuring something which is not possible to measure. So how do you make a report on your performance anxiety, and on how you every time in the making of something you elude and elude again, and get stuck in this process when your expectations are constantly getting higher inside your own perception of what you're making. Actually, this became a way of I don't know how to say it. I said this before, so I can have this feeling of this déjà vu today, but I can say which is an attempt. I don't know how is it good or not, but it's a way of trying to make I can't find the exact words, but it is a a way of digging something which is more huge and more universal on the making and on the self. So trying to investigate the universal to understand and comprehend and explain the personal. And starting from something else, it acquires many forms, and I think which is a kind of collecting process, which in the act of collection includes a kind of dispersion from its very beginning. And it's not meant to be, I don't know, presented in the form of a work or really objectified in any possible way, but it's it's a way of disparaging thoughts which aren't meant to be there, which subsequently came out from this process of making attempts to this record and turn into something else. Yeah. I think that's it. Yeah. It's kind of an unfinished process of gaining awareness in what you're doing and what is involved when you are in the act of making something. And when though this process can end in this very experience of mine, it's still an unfinished project, and it's not about telling some answers, but it's more the formulation of more and more questions to myself and to others.
Why did you choose these two devices for, I would say, documenting the research, but I know that's like controversial. It's like, why do you have a video and you have an edition and like an object which is there and you cannot rectify that? Also the video. Like, you mean when it's progress, is the research that is in progress that gives birth to some traces and that are objective? I mean, they're like there, like.
Perhaps it is a way of setting some steps, which are in itself, I don't know, kind of partial and incomplete. And for example, this video presents the exact test which is reported on the book, yeah. But the visual complementary is kind of found footage of the first result based on a series of internet research on Google and on stock footage websites according to a set of keywords I feel complementary and part of the work, like self-identity, performance anxiety, failure, and so on, which are reported at the end of the book. And I'm seeing this is still unfinished because I don't know, perhaps I can even go on in remixing some of the musical material and part of the text. I don't know, it's objectifying in a booklet or making some videos is just one of the possible way to present a series of thoughts. What about? Yeah. Yeah, it's all about it's all about this word, which is I don't know, kind of street and vernacular word spreading among teenagers, which actually defines when two individuals speak in different languages and which perhaps have never met by person, are in a relationship by the use of Google Translate tool. So it was a particularly fascinating idea to me, and I reported it to be connected with the idea of translating your intentions into something, like when you're making something, and how the personal could be translated into some I don't know, further thoughts which can try to comprehend wider some wider aspects of the self and reality itself, perhaps.
I just love the video, like the aesthetic of the video, not just the meaning of it. Like I think it's really like it's this kind of sort of new language, new aesthetics. It's really interesting to me, and I was wondering if how is programmed what you do in the video, and how much is like something that comes like more naturally to you, or is something just very studied. Like I don't know, like all your work seems very conceptual, but in the end the video seems more visceral, more, I don't know.
Yeah, I think the video looks so much visual, and because it is based on the simplest kind of research on the lowest level of language available on the internet. So the first result of a research based on some keywords connected to particular moments in the video.
The way you compose the image, like every time is to me like kind of a JPEG, really cool JPEG, no? Like a painting, but you know, and there is some taste in this, I guess, no? Like it's interesting how low quality is in there, but how you, I think, manage to do it in a high way, you know? And I was wondering if you have any influences about this, like if there is any artist that you, because to my mind come of a lot of artists that use this language that I really love, and if, you know, like the use of silly transitions and, you know, like the watermarks on the images, like it's kind of cool, but like I still love it.
Yeah, sure, the work is very much influenced by work made by other artists, like I don't know, Oliver Laric and Alexandra Domanovic, or yeah. It's I think it's one of my favorite works from the last years. So perhaps it's very influenced by that, and it's self-evident to me, and and also I don't know. I can think on this on a more, I don't know, thought and semantic level, perhaps on this idea of translating the personal to the universal. I can say I was probably constantly influenced by a work by John Ruffman, which is called You, the World and I, when he kinds of stages again by the use of Google Street View the myth of Orpheus and I don't know how to say it in English, Eurydice, or is it, I don't know if this is pronounced correctly, but in Italian it would be Euridice, and by this fake idea which an image is always available on the internet, and through this idea he perhaps was regaining some lost relation or the memory of a person he had lost during the end of a relation on the and at the end of this work, like in the myth, this image, which is the I don't know, the record or the memory of this person, suddenly has disappeared just because the image from the satellite has changed. So perhaps even the idea that yeah, this is very much distant from the initial idea, but it comes to my mind in this moment that perhaps the idea that all data is permanent is not true. And this sure has to do to this thought of connecting collection and dispersion, and also on this idea of dispersion. I've been sure being influenced by the work of Seth Price, which is one of my favorite artists. So.
Yeah, like beyond the idea of semantics and database and new media kind of aesthetic. I mean, for me, it's extremely narrative somehow, and I was wondering if you're, yeah, and you speak about fiction, but you are creating a fiction, and my question is, how much are you interested in expanded cinema, and how much are you interested in Peter Greenaway, for example? And if you know the project Thirst Looper Suitcase?
Yeah, I know about his project, but perhaps I'm not, I don't know, I'm not very keen on expanded cinema, really. But I find it interesting that you can find some connection between these works. And yeah, for me, it's just the attempt of creating a narrative which could be some way shareable, starting from a personal experience. Yeah.
As we're still going on connections, I found other two connections. But one is the connection with the work of Eliade Sivan, so the work on Jean-Luc Godard. And the other one is the connection with the work of Camille Henrot, the work that she presented at the Biennale. Yeah. Why these two connections? Because actually, in this area of the aesthetics of the archive, because we are talking about the aesthetics of the archive and not on the archiving practices, like one of our, like I think the third calling upon we had in Milano was about archiving practices as a media of translation and of loss of information and of like normalizing contents and normalizing memories and or memory strategies. So concerning these two references that that came to my mind, the first one, like the project of Eliade Sivan, which is an online archive that allows you to build up narratives in the image archive of Jean-Luc Godard, and especially the work Ici Ailleurs. So all his work about Palestine and all his work about political contents. The idea of Eliade Sivan is that through his dispositive, he's able actually to de-archive the material and allows the viewer and the user to create new narratives, which I found really ideological, because actually the material he's putting at disposal of the user is it's normalized actually. It's a quantity of material you can't really go through the net and put in relation his material and other material.
No, it's becoming source material again. Yeah.
But my real problem about this work is where's the author? Where's authoriality? I was told that one of the big reaction that you had in your presentation today was about this idea, this relationship with this dialectics between subjectivation and objectivation. And I think it's really linked to this idea of authorship, and authority also, because we know Derrida was a lot working on this idea of like the archive as in like a power device that allows to address an authority. And the other one is about like the strategy for knowledge production. This is the second link with the work of Camille Henry. Because this fuzzy logic, this random logic actually, to me, correspond actually to the how everybody goes through an archive or a database of information. So it's nothing new, it's like the visualization of something really normal and, I don't know, really evident, self-evident.
Yeah, I think even in this process of making multiple versions of things and spreading your work over various mediums and but rather than various mediums, different forms, is a kind of way of dissolve some kind of authority, but at the same time even a way of reaffirming it, because that is a choice at the very beginning of I don't know, I can state as an authorial choice the choice of using only default material. I know this is also a kind of phenomenological and contextual and trendy stuff, because this is around, as you were saying before, it's very present, this kind of image. Authoriality is also in the text, in the collection of thoughts, which you can decide to pair with some kind of images or not. Authoriality is also in the deciding to make a video based on only fan material, based on the first result of a research based on a defined set of keywords. So I see this as on a kind of authoriality.
You're not interested in the circulation of the material, of this material, or in like the no, but I mean in the interference of another author in your material.
I think this is more an enrichment rather than an interference. And also when you kind of let the material circulate in some way freely, and this material is redistributed and can be even reused. I used I don't know, all available footage. So when you I don't know, put just an image which could be just a picture you just shot with your cell phone, or a work on the internet, it is immediately available for reuse and further interpretation or misinterpretation, perhaps. I think this is part of the being interesting of the game right now. It's part of the thing, and you can't just ignore it.
want to ask you if you consider the utilization of the material in contextualize it in the context of the art, only of the art, or you want to distribute this material for the utilization because you consider the utilization of the material, I think, in the future, no? Because you are recreating a new context or with a new narration, so you are creating a new shape. And how do you consider the channel of art, and if the channel of art justify the audience of your and the reutilization of your material and your artwork, something like this, or if you consider other channel, for example, the book. The book is something that could be go out the channel of art, or not, or you consider all art. You are an artist that create an artistic object, for example, but or not.
Yeah, this is very interesting, I think. And yeah, I think they are, while being perhaps, I think we can take it for granted, which is, for example, the video is an artistic object, or the artist book is an artistic object as well. We can take it for granted, but I think in this particular way of making objects is also there is also a big part of unartistic context, like but it I don't know, it is also part of dispersing some thought work over many different forms. So I don't know, context is very important, but I surrender to the fact that I cannot control circulation or further interpretation over some material. It's part of the work. It was meant to be there from the beginning. I think is very part of the approach. Yeah.
It was interesting for us to put you in, like, in relationship to the work of Roberto, because actually part of our inquiry is about also arbitrarity. And so this idea, because in objective, we don't really know if an objective exists in English. So it's a word that we are using, that we build up, because it was something that was not telling, that stays ambiguous. So in objectivity is something which is linked to subjectivity, but also to objectivity. And so it allows us to spread our research to related issues that are not really related in a very strict way to this idea. And so when we were going through the researches that were presented at the Biennale, we were like suddenly making a link between your work and his work, because we had the impression that there was a sort of complementarity at play. And so you maybe want to follow up and yeah.
Possiamo attaccare questo? Well, hi everyone. Like, I'm really happy to be here today. Like, I'm also really happy to be after Enrico. I didn't know his research, but actually, as Simone was saying, there is something like connected between our research. My main research, my whole research right now is connected to the question of art. So what do we consider art? And to games and the way in which games and art relates. Okay. se me lo metti un attimo. Ok. Okay, I will talk. Okay, fantastic. Yesterday I was doing a performance about limitations, and so I think today's theme is really interesting to me. I tried to think about a couple of concepts that came up to my mind talking about this topic that Simone and Pietro and Alessandro presents today. And talking about objectivity, subjectivity, I try to define definitions versus evaluations, like in the way in which we define, like the definition tends to objectivity and try to put a thing into some boundaries. So to measure things in an objective way, while evaluations tends to subjectivity and try to put a thing into a scale of values, so measure things in a subjective way. So I will just show you some examples, again from maybe pop culture, I don't know, like that, in which these two words are kind of mixed up. There are websites mainly that I really love, I think they're really good works. Rap Genius. Rap Genius is a website dedicated to hip-hop music. Basically, it's a website in which there are all the rap song in all the world, and every sentence, you can click on every sentence, so you have the explanation of the sentence, the literal explanation or a critique or an image, and all these images and this explanation had been uploaded by users, and of course are again rated by users. So again, in this case, there is this kind of definitions versus evaluations that in some ways mix up. And a better example is Urban Dictionary, that again is a website that it's kind of different from Wikipedia, but in which we can find a lot of American, US sayings and words, and these are explained and defined again by users. And examples here. You see here is Red Bull without a cause. That is American saying. And a user said, the act of drinking Red Bull when you are already wide awake simply because you like the taste. And always when you upload a description of the saying, you also have to put an examples. And the interesting thing is that the definition that gains more votations raised to the top. So it's the first that you see. So in that case, there is the subjectivity of the individual that submit the definition, but also the objectivity of the concept of definition. As I said, yeah, definitions is a slippery creature, and all my research, as I was saying, is based on the question of art. So what do we consider art? When we always talking about art, of course, a lot in this kind of context. What's interesting to me is that when we talk about art, a lot of times we intend different things, because the definition of art of someone here, it's totally different from mine and totally different from somebody else. Like here, I just collect. In the centuries, there have been a lot of definitions about what is art. One could be that art is everything that is aesthetically beautiful. Art is everything that gives you emotions. Art is everything that we use to call art. Art is everything that is in a art context. Art is an artifact about something with a title. So that's interesting how none of these actually works in the end, because if we think about the first two, we will find also, first of all, they're again very subjective, and we will always able to find something that gives you emotions, but it's not art. Like, I don't know, kissing somebody give me an emotion, but I'm sure that nobody here will say that this is art. Maybe someone would, but it's not a common, it's not commonly approved. Yeah, it's not commonly approved that giving a kiss is a piece of art or an artwork. And the fourth one, that is art is everything that is an art context. Maybe in some ways is correct, but it doesn't tell us nothing about what actually art is. Like, it doesn't give us an interesting evaluation of what art is and a qualitative version of what art is. And again, yeah, I try to type the word art in the Urban Dictionary that I showed you before. The first one is totally like the most vote definition of art is a definition that is really, really related to emotions. And the second one actually is a kind of joke, and it's just the abbreviation of the British greeting "all right," so art. Going on, okay, and now let's skip to evaluation. So from definition, you saw how we skip to evaluation. Metacritic is again a website. It's a beautiful website, I guess, to me. Like, and in this case, we saw how something really subjective as the evaluation of something, like as the evaluation of a music, as the evaluation of a book or a movie, is transformed into something quite objective. Because Metacritic, what does it do? Like, it's a website that aggregates the reviews of music albums from all the web and all the users. So actually, when you're looking for a music album or a movie, like here I just try to look for a music album. Like, you on the left, you have all the reviews of the web, of some web design, or like, I don't know, like whatever there is on the web, and it's pretty institutional. And they made just an average between all the scores that the movie or the album gets. And on the right, in this case, there are no user reviews. There are all the user reviews, and again, they are all averaged. In that case, we have something, as I said, very, very subjective, that is the valuation of something that turns out into something more objective. Like Metacritic does exactly this, tries to synthesize and to give a more objective view of a qualitative work. Okay, and yeah, I will just show you one of my work that it's my last work, and it totally like aggregates all the things that I've just said. All my research is just like, I guess this is not my last work, but it's a work that really comprehends everything that is in my research. So it's a video game, like video game, but a game. It's a software. It's called CB. And if you play P to play, okay, now we're gonna play. It asks you press M to choose the medium. If you press M, it gives you 3 instructions about a medium that you have to use as a player. So in this case, we have to make a sculpture with wood and paper larger than 2 meters. Then we press the A to choose the aboutness of the same work. Aboutness, it stands for the theme of the work. And it said your work has to be, so our sculpture with wood and paper has to be about landscape and about flying. And then the title. The title of the work has to feature, I don't know in English how it is, but it's like not comma, it's whatever. I hope you saw and the game actually goes on and on. Like, there are like billions and billions of possibilities of sets that goes from sculpture to video to photograph to whatever that is in some ways a creative artifact. And this work actually, to me, synthesizes all the things I said before, because it's about definitions, because it's about what we usually define art. So when we play this game and we actually shoot a video between 12 a.m. and 4 a.m. about void and definition, yeah, definition is out. That's kind of fun. And the title has the word they. Like, what are we doing when the outcome will be available? That outcome, what would be? Like, would be an artwork because it has an aboutness, it has a title, or it will be just a solution of a game, it will be just an artifact. And it's also raised up questions about that evaluation of an artwork, because actually some people played this game, made a sculpture. That sculpture went to Artissima, so people who went to Artissima saw the sculpture, but they didn't know actually that the sculpture came out of this game. So actually it was in an artistic context, but it was not an artwork anyway. Like, I don't know what was, but that was the interesting part of it. And so yeah, the evaluation, the definition. The game, to say the last things, has been like tested a couple of times with people, with real people. So real people actually played the game and gave us solutions. And right now, like, I guess I can show you so you can understand. I hope I have some solutions, but maybe not. Yeah. So these are some, I just took free solution. This is my favorite at all. Like when I was testing this game in Milan, this girl received this instruction. You have to make a series of 3 photographies. The same person has to be present in the 3 photos, and the photos have to be shot in different places. The series has to be about mystery and equilibrium. The title of the series has to be in Spanish. And so what was great to me, like these guys had to send me by email their work with the explanation of the work. The interesting fact was that Tiziana sent me an email with no explanation at all. And that was interesting because her topic, her theme was mystery. And so she was actually playing with me. She was being mysterious and by making a mystery work. And it's about, of course, also equilibrium, because we cannot understand how it's like, we cannot understand if it's in equilibrium or not. And the title, of course, has to be in Spanish, and of course it's sin título to be also more mysterious. And so that was really interesting to me because it really replicates some kind of art context in which the artists play with the curator or with the institution. And this is more institutional work, it's still life. You have to make a sculpture made of heavy materials and organic materials. The 2 materials have to be always in contact. The sculpture has to be about space and game, and the title has to feature the S. So actually the space is in the space of our keyboard, so it's the space there. And the 2 guys are playing with this space, so it's about a game. And the whole place in which they are playing actually is coffee, so it's organic materials, and the heavy materials because are made of tin foil that is heavy. So actually that was interesting because they were actually being with all the instructions. They were stick to every instruction. And the last one, this is the sculpture that actually won the competition that we made. And they have to make a collage with colored papers, tin foil, and newspapers. No, and and sticky tapes. And the collage has to be about magic and technology. And that was really hard for them because the title of the collage has to feature the name of a person, the name of an animal, the name of a color, and the name of a city. And they came up with, I think, a beautiful idea that was this collage in which they talked about technology and magic. And in the end, they talked about the green screen that actually combines these 2 topics. And they tried to replicate a really lo-fi green screen on this wall. And the title was Latika, that is the girl in the middle, cut out of newspapers. Mouse, that is, we have the mouse to play. Green, that is the green screen, and Toronto, that is the image that we can see behind, that is a time-lapse of Toronto going on. So that was pretty all. I tried to synthesize everything that I have, but if you have any questions or whatever.
First question is about this idea of context. Because when we were addressing invitations, I mentioned that we were like thinking about 2 panels, like one about collective strategies and the other one about arbitrarity and objectivity and error making. And we were inviting you for the second panel about error making, arbitrarity and objectivity, and you told me that No, maybe it's better that if I participate to the first one, because my work is not about arbitrarity. It's about collective strategies of collective artistic strategies of collective curating. Something. My first question is about that. Why do you think that this positive is building up a community or a collective or a group? Or
I think it's pretty weird the fact that actually these works, they are not mine, they are not theirs, like they're of nobody. Like we never settle, like we never said, okay, now this collage I know that is still there, but it's not mine, it's not there. Like I can give to them, but it's pretty, you know, like not important in a way. Yes, I told you that because actually what CB does is to interact with people, like a lot of games. It's the same thing that a lot of games do, is to interact with the context and with people. With games is pretty interesting the fact that you can play only with players. Like there are some people that really don't like to play. So you just have to find out people who wants to play. And I think that the same goes with art. And yeah, this work, I think it really works when it has to do with somebody else of course, maybe in a relational way. And that's why it's about community in some ways. And it really works in the end. Like, it was really interesting the fact that the people who came to play were totally involved. There was a lot of competition between them because everybody wants to make a better work than the others. I think that struck me was that it was pretty vulgar. Like when people can express themselves, they became really rough. Like they talk about fuck and like whatever. It's a way to express themselves in a more free way. And yeah, that was this kind of competition that I loved. This competition that really again replicates the artwork. But at the same time, it was really hard to understand what work was better than the other. Like when the jury has to choose what work was the best one, it was really hard for them to choose one. And yes, I think the work with the other people to me was great, was really great. It's not something that I look for, like it's not in my research to look for the contact with people, but in the end what I feel, what it happens very often, and that it's that every work has to always deal with communities or with some new people, some new persons. Yeah.
No, I just wanted to say that this especially pose a lot of questions about the recognition of an artwork, or what are the parameters about the recognition of an artwork. Like you were saying, these kind of works are not completely yours and not completely of the gamer, and so it makes again like the the question is repeated again and again. Where is the objective parameter on which you should base to define what is an artwork? Is it more contextual or more a set of parameters, or both?
I was thinking also tonight about this, like what's the point? Like the point is, even if we know what art is, even if we can discover the definition of art, what is the point? Like, why is useful to know? Like why is useful to know what art is? What is, like, it has no point at all. Like in the end, my research is nothing because even if I'm able to define art or game, it's not like even if we knew, like, it's totally useless. But again, it's to me some kind of a puzzle. So again, playing a game, trying to define something that you cannot ever define. That it's kind of playing again a game. Yes.
what about the objectivity of the definition? Because actually these categories are really loose. No? It's like newspapers. Wide, yeah. I mean, in the definitions, like you have to make a collage with, like already collage is really wide, and colored papers is wide. Newspaper is totally wide, and also technology and magic are really. So there is a sort of an effort of objectivize the production of the art world, of the artwork, but still there is a resistance because the production is totally subjective. So it's maybe something that's just linked to the work also of Enrico. There is a sort of mutual resistance between subjectivity and objectivity because you can never get to a situation where objectivity is at 100%.
That's also the whole point of the game. Like that's the fun of the game. The fact that you can use the instructions, you can exploit them. You can exploit the boundaries that you have. You can play with them. Like you can use a word that have two meanings, or maybe doing this kind of stuff. Because of course the rules will never be really objective. There will be always subjective. And there was fun because people were asking me, okay, but can I talk about this? This is really technology. If I do this work, I said, if it's up to you, like what I was saying to them, it's maybe you have to think about the audience. I don't know, like when you do this work and all the people will see it, you have to use the most common maybe definition that we have of technology. Because if you make something very personal, people will never understand your work. And that's what to me also happens in art. Like if you do something really, really personal that has no references to the real world in which you live, nobody will ever understand it, and it's like kind of pointless. But if you're able to synthesize something complex in something really simple and get to the people in some ways, like not always in a simple way, but at least in a way that is comprehensible, like to me, that's, for example, a quality of a work, to get to, I don't want to say to everyone, like not to everyone, but at least to give a key of access to the work. Like it's incredible that there are a lot of works that have no key of access. Like even if you know, like I work in art, like I don't work because I don't get any money out of it, but I work in art, and like there are some times in which I go to exhibitions and I don't understand the work. If me, that I am an artist, I don't get a work, I don't know, like it's pretty hard. Like to me, it's a real problem that we as people who works in the artwork cannot get the work, even with the explanation of the work, just with the, I don't know, with a definition, or like, I don't know, a quotation. Like that's a real problem to me. Like, yeah, that's really important.
Does it affect also your understanding of your own contribution, artistic contribution? I mean, where is your artistic contribution in this work? Yeah, it's this, like the same question that we were asking yesterday, maybe. Do you remember when we were like concerning the performance that you did yesterday? It's a really complicated answer to question to ask, because I don't know how to formalize it, but does this thing allows you to think also about your work, to define yourself as an artist and to define your artistic contribution? Because it could easily be, like we were talking about, that it could easily be sold as something else, as a game, as a mere game, and not as an artistic project. So it could be also understood as something that doesn't have this metaphysical, that doesn't give a metaphysical contribution about the definition of art. It's like analytic contribution.
Yeah, that's kind of frustrating to me. Like maybe that's my love for this work is connected to things that the other don't see at all, but it's part of the game. Like I have to accept. Like I have to deal with that. Like I don't know. I really don't know. Like it's really hard to to answer this kind of question. Like yeah, yeah, yeah. Like it's really hard. Like I can recognize as my work because I love instructions, because I love, but I don't know. Like again, I don't want to talk because I know that I would say something that it's totally out of the question.
This could be also easily conceived as a curatorial project. I mean, you're acting as a curator in here. Or maybe as an author. Wait, no?
I try not to, like, it's not important in the end. Like, the important is that it's a thing and it generates other things that could be good, could be bad. Like, then, you know, we're talking about the definitions, but they're totally useless. Like, they can be totally void, like, totally empty. Like, who cares? Like, in the end, if the work is cool, even if it's a game or an artwork, it's good anyway. Like, and if you work in the art world, you will see something. If someone work in the game design, will see something else. So I think it's cool like this. Like it's cool that it's just a thing. Like it's something. It's just a something. Then in the explanation of CB, I said that it's an artwork, it's a cybertext, it's a game, it's a directional device, depending on which point of view you are looking at it. So I'm already giving the key to it. Like when I said what is it, to me it's okay, I guess. But I always have the impression that when you are asking me some question, I'm not answering that question. It's fine, okay.
Do you will show all these artworks in a group show, for example, in the future? Do you think about this possibility?
Well, the software has been already showed as a software. And usually when I show the software, a solution of the software, so maybe this or another one, and a documentation of all the process. So one time was the documentary that we made out of this experience. The other time was some screenshot of statistics of people that play the game. Yes, like, so yes, like I already did, I think I will do it. But it's interesting also the possibility that someone, as I was telling you yesterday, remix the game. So having other games that have the same structure of CB but remixed and talking about something else that is nothing connected to art or related to art.
I have the impression everybody's tired. But we just have 1 hour more. I mean, we're not using that more, but are we gonna go on with you? Are you ready? Yeah. Okay. We decided to invite also Etienne because his work. We had the impression that your work was really about was helping us to think part of our research, which is about coding also, and coding strategies. I'm just waiting for you to get ready.
Yeah. The thing is, I don't really know if we are speaking about objectivity or unobjectivity or error making. Yeah. So hello everybody. My name is Etienne. I'm very happy to be here. And I think to add to this topic, I'm gonna speak more about process of working and different methodologies and and how we can mix. I mean, for me, like you said, you know, art is for interpretation, you know, and for me, if it's a total objectivity, it becomes a ideology, fascism, or like, you know, it is. You can't be totally objective, you know. It's no debate. It's always subjective. I mean, that's my point of view, because you know we are all different and we have different eyes. So if we try to control everybody, then we become ideological or political, and I think it's not for me it's not a good way. So beyond that, I would like to show you different stuff. I'm gonna show you a trailer of the movie I'm showing here. So it would be better because it's a bit long. So we have no sound, right? But it's not very, actually maybe we don't need sound. Can I? I'm gonna make the music myself. Full screen. So this project for me was totally about error making from the beginning to the end. I started this project, it's a science documentary. So you're gonna see the trailer and you can see it at the end of the first floor. And what it really taught me it took me 3 years and a half to work on this. It was a little bit complex, and I mean, what was really interesting is all the mistakes I've made. And the first mistake was that I wanted to make a sci-fi documentary, you know, like about underwater creature, and I wanted to speak about language and some sci-fi stories. So I read this great article online about whale communication system, and I of course misread it really well. So I sent an email to the 3 scientists, and only one replied and said, "Okay, I reply to you because my wife is an artist." So, but from there, I started to try to adapt to a different methodology, because you know, as a visual artist, you don't often, or I'm not trained as a scientist, so I had to try to adapt and to break this hierarchy that for me sometimes is polluting a lot of art, especially in visual art. That we need to have a hierarchy between architect, artist, between scientists and artists, and I think it's not very necessary if we try to adapt to each other. So this work is basically the result of you know, trying to be in between methodology, in between fiction, in between reality, in between art, in between science. So like you say, you know, what is an art object? What is you know, is it a documentary, is it a fiction? For me, it's not to me to tell you if it's true or if it's not true. It's more important. I'm not, you know, I am here to give a lot of ways and paths and dreams and emotion, but in the end, the work is out. So it's for you to take it and to digest it and maybe hate it or like it, or I don't know, to throw it away. Yeah, so that's one thing. Am I totally off the subject or no? I want to show you another project I just finished, but I think I'm not gonna show you the final result, but I'm gonna show you just, I did a small trailer for the process of the project, and it's too bad we don't have sound because this is a bit funny. It's a sculpture.
On est en train de se dire qu'effectivement, putain, vu le poids de la bestiole, c'est quand même super lourd pour que dalle.
Je crois que j'ai plus de dos, j'ai pas encore coupé de poids. Finalement, ça va.
Le plus gros problème, c'est d'installer la fixation.
Avec un peu de chance, et s'il fait beau, demain, ça va pouvoir le faire. Ah merde, c'est bon.
So yeah, I wanted. For me, it's interesting because it's. I create with a trailer. You create imagination. You create suspension. You create waiting, and the end result is a very large sculpture, outdoor sculpture. But I am also very interested in the process, and this is not appearing in the end when you see the artwork. And I think, like, for me as an artist, I'm very, very interested to see how artists work and how also other professions work, you know, architects, scientists, engineer, whatever. So I think it's also this making of, the idea of the making of, and the idea of all the mistakes that you make, all the trials, and like in that case, we had to find a lot of solution to put up the sculpture in the trees. And I think it's really worth it to embrace error making, but to go all the way, you know? So error making is very important only if you realize, for me, the dream in the end, you know? So the error making is impossible to avoid. And if there was no error, and if it was not problems or no challenge, then it's boring and you can go die, because, you know, what's the point of making an easy artwork, you know? I mean, that's... So, but maybe we should engage a dialogue, because I'm making a monologue, and I would like to know, yeah, what, you know, about your, what do you think about, you know, working in a challenging way, or I don't know. I would like to have a bit more dialogue, because we have been like lecturing.
I told you that it was gonna be like this because well, it's easier. But I have two questions, because actually hearing you speak, you speak about methodology, and before speaking about methodology, you speak about fiction. And I was wondering if this idea of fictionalizing reality, fictionalizing reality, using fiction to translate reality, to understand reality. I was wondering if it's not like a shared method of work for science, art, and architecture, or actually, it's like the epistemological core of every human activity, because everybody is fictionalizing reality. I mean, there is no objectivity, like pure objectivity. So maybe this is my understanding of your statement. And the other question I can't remember now, but maybe it's coming back, because I had two questions, but I don't know if you want to react about this idea of...
I mean, I think the topic of fiction and reality, for me, I was trying to, after this project, which is called Tales of Asikao, so actually I'm just going to show you, because maybe you will like some of the stuff. And I know I'd been working 3 years with a hyper-narrative project, like scripting a science documentary. It's very interesting, but it's also very exhausting in a way. So I was very tired of this, you know, everlasting fiction and reality, and there are so many artists today that work with fiction and reality. So I was kind of getting a little bit tired of it. And then I made this new project, which I'm just gonna show you the sketch, actually. This is a lot of fun, this project, but I'll show you later. So you can see in the sketch, it's up and running now in France. So if you pass by Paris, it's close by. So it's a kind of abstract city in an island, like up in the trees. And I was thinking, yeah, this piece is not about fiction and reality. This is about contestatory message. It's about you know, freedom, resistance, and so on and so on. But in the end, I created a work which is about desire, somehow, about imagination. So I'm still again in fiction and reality, and I think it's impossible to escape it, you know? If you have works that are very up for interpretation, you know, and in my case, that's what I'm trying to do, you know? I'm trying to have a dialogue, and I want my work to create some sort of interaction that I'm not controlling somehow. So yeah, fiction and reality is kind of everywhere. But from the moment when we are speaking, you know, I'm creating a fiction. I'm creating a character right now. I'm very hangover, and maybe I have this type of face, you know, so I'm creating somebody that maybe I am not, I don't know, but it is all the time present, this fiction. But then how do you use it? The problem with fiction is that sometimes it can be used in marketing or political way that could be, that we could debate about, and how this can be transformed and misused. Maybe that's also storytelling, connected to storytelling.
It's like there is like a positive version of fictionalizing reality and a negative. When like fictionalizing reality is not faking reality. It's totally different. It's like a method and that we cannot escape. So I had the second question that I wanted to ask you, because you spoke about hero making in methodological terms. So I was wondering if you think that error making is something that you personally provoke, that you do on purpose, because it's your way of working, or it's just something that you came across, like errors as something that you came across? Because I had the impression that you speak about error making as a totally conscious strategy.
Like just now, even though I don't have much experience, but like with this project I've been doing, I'm starting to realize that it's kind of a bit the same process. I have an idea, a concept at the beginning, and I'm going full force in it, and I don't listen to the people who tell me that it's not gonna happen. And in the end, I make a lot of mistakes. So I am creating them, but in the end, it's a positive. It's a positive energy for me. It's a positive process somehow, because I have to make these mistakes. I have to understand that it is difficulty. So for me, maybe the mistake or the error is not about the, being wrong. It's just like from the Latin word, to errands. So you go around and you look for different solutions. You speak to many different people. You speak normally to these people. You're not trying to be higher or lower, and you try to be curious. And then you make choices that afterwards you realize will be wrong, but you need to have this strong, for me, this strong dream, this strong will. So if there are errors and if there are difficulty, I think it's very necessary. It's part of my work, It's part of this challenge, It's always making something a bit more difficult. When on the Seeker, I had no, like in my head, because I had been working with this concept of creating a metaphorical work about language and nature and landscape through a fictional science documentary. So I had this idea from the beginning, but I had no idea where I was going. I just wanted to do a fictional documentary, and I knew I would do it. And like, just to give you an example, we shot the documentary in Iceland and Greenland, and I had, of course, very low budget, so I could not pay the actors, so I had to give them favor, cook for them, whatever. So in terms of planning time, I could not tell them, no, it's gonna be this week, you all come. I had to adapt all their schedule to make something that would suit everybody, So in the end, for this outdoor shooting that you could see a little bit in the trailer, I had a little problem because I only had 1 weekend to shoot this and only 1 date. And the problem in Iceland, the weather is sometimes a bit difficult. So all my friends were like, no, Etienne, you have to take a second date. You have to take a backup date. And of course I was lucky and it happened, but I didn't have a backup plan. So it's this kind of process, I think. But in a way, I think if you go for it, and if you try to show to the people that you want it so much, and you try to, I think it's also about communication, and working with people is difficult, and I don't do collaboration because I think I'm not so good at it. So I prefer to have people working with me or for me, or it's just more clear. But it is not easy also to have a collective, people working for your idea, How do you communicate an idea, and how do you want people to follow, not to follow, but to try to make your idea better, Especially in a video making, because I have limits into photography, I have limits into sound, so there is a moment I need people better than me. So I think this kind of project was great to realize that there was much more work than I thought, and it will take me much longer, but also if you don't try and if you don't go for it, it's just not possible. And it's the same thing with this installation. I'm gonna show you a few images of the, I'm gonna show you a funny image. I had a great guy working with me, and I think you a very cliche image of French workers. No, I don't have it here, but so you can see the process from the sketches you saw before. This was 1 month building this piece, and of course, you know, I draw it on SketchUp. I have these nice sketches. In the end, it kind of looks similar, but the reality is you have to cut all this fucking wood, you know, and you have to cut all this tarpaulin, and you have to bring it to us. So it's like so many. It's more about time. It's maybe measuring time there, you know. I could not really figure out how long it would take, but we decided 1 month. It will be 1 month, we do it. But it's true that I didn't really have a sense of how fast we would go. But I thought we could do it. So, yeah.
So maybe I was coming in and out of the room, so maybe I lost some of the things that you said, but what were the installations actually for? I mean, they're like tree houses, right? So there's no function.
Yeah, I'm gonna show you a little video. It's a piece I just finished in this venue called the Chamarande, close to Paris, and it's called Rise. And this piece for me is I'm trying to speak about how an island or a forest, how housing or how movement into that space can be a sort of way of speaking about freedom. But it's also freedom, resistance, and through creative process, through art making, and also through imagination. Because this tree hut, for me, I like tree hut, but I'm not obsessed with tree hut. And it's so fashionable today that I'm more interested in the imagination that it's created, because they are not connected to the ground, so nobody can go inside. It's not an interactive work. It's not a, and I think that's very important. I'm just gonna try to, I'm gonna show you a little run through. No, I don't do, it's not collaborative. I do cooperation, I think. But I do collaboration like today. For me, that's a collaboration. You know, we are exchanging ideas. But in my work, I'm a little bit a control freak. But because I don't have all the skills, and I like to work with sound, I like to work with sculpture, I like to work with many media, then I need to work with other people, but they are working for me in the end. But in order to work with me, we need to be in a good mood, because otherwise it's just, you know, so fucking boring to work on a 1 month project and be with people who are frustrated, you know, because I think the art process itself, for me, should be an adventure each time, you know, and that's why I try to make each time even more difficult project, because we have so much fun in the end, you know, and it's a bit tough, but we are very tired, but that's what I like, you know, it's this, and trying to understand, you know, I was working with these guys, they were much older, so I have to grow up, you know. And
maybe you're mainly working with restraints and not with hero making, because you create a situation in which you are full of restraints. For example, you decide that this work, which is impossible to realize in 1 month properly, you want to realize it in 1 month. So this is what makes the project funny. So it's more about restraints, about self-imposed limitation, which is what he's working on. But I think that Aria raised a very good point, because this idea of function on not functional
say this is a personal thing, actually, because we met in Paris before he started this work. And we discussed about the significance of an archipelagus, or understanding the archipelagus also from like a political view. And so this sense of freedom was not, at the time, it wasn't an idea of freedom, but it was an idea of anarchism, or like a transition towards something that has no order. So that for me was interesting to see, to listen to, and then now I finally see the project, and that's why I was asking about function, because ideally, I think at the beginning when you started this project, you were thinking about functionality in some kind of way, and then it kind of maybe transformed in the making, I don't know.
I think like the basics of art is that it should be functionable, you know, in the sense of it has a function in society. It's totally integrated, you know. So who was speaking about that? I think it's like one of the video was is Noam Chomsky, like it's a cut his speech. I think he's saying at some point that, you know, the little thing he can do is just to have influence on the way that people are thinking, and you know, but not as a dictator way or ideological way or political way, but just to make people think, you know, and or make people wonder, you know. But not, for me, it's very important not to presuppose who is the audience, you know, and not to treat the visitor or the audience as spectator. You know, this is very old-fashioned, I think. So I would say that it's a functionable. Conceptually, it's a functionable project. It has to be functionable. It has to be interactive. But practically, in terms of technical terms, it's not functionable because it's more. You cannot reach. I'm gonna try to show you a picture with a scale. It's 3 meters high from the ground. This is just geek picture for the techniques. Okay. Oh no, it's not here. Sorry. Okay. That's nothing has to do with that. So you can, that's a great picture actually. This is, in the end of the day, you know, this is the best award that we got, you know, from working outside and having fun. It's a good pâté en croûte. Well, no, here you can see the scale a little bit of the piece. So you cannot access it. Of course, some kids are gonna play with it and they're gonna try to go up. But it is important that it is about imagination. So the functionality is more, I think, in your thinking and how you. Maybe it makes you dream. Maybe it makes you angry, and you have many angles to look at it. So I see the functionality in that freedom of, or like this creative, maybe, I hope it's a creative process I'm bringing up with that. Again, I don't know, you know. Yeah, well, it was supposed to be in a forest, but it's in an island which is in this park, you know, so it's very easy to access it. You have a small bridge, but of course in history, the island and the forest are spaces of withdrawing, of experimentation, of isolation, of counter-attack. So it is like, it is very symbolic for this project to be located in that space and to have this network. Sorry? Yeah. Actually, it's not an art center anymore. Oh, I don't know. Oh, yeah, no, the whole, yeah.
We were talking about context before, so when I see this work live, well, I'm walking into Domaine de Chamarande, and I came across this work. It's totally clear to me that it's not functional, even if it's about housing, sheltering, and France and Paris has a big problem about housing, and like, so if this thing was in, I don't know, Paris Art Center or Paris banlieue, it would be more ambiguous, but this is clear. So this is why said that Arya raised a very good point about your practice in general, because actually I was trying to read also your video production through the lenses of functional, like function, because I have the impression that, for example, the video that you did, the final product of the research on the sea cow is totally useless from a scientific point of view, because it's about fictionalizing a research. So there is no scientific, how can I say, there is not a scientific methodology. Like scientists are acting as scientists. They are not doing a real research. And if I am a scientist and I want to get some information from your documentary, it's totally faked from the beginning. You know what I mean? So I don't know if it's clear or not, but it's like elliptical, because it's usually from the beginning, and there is another level of non-functional presence as a product in the art field or in the knowledge production field in general. So it's like a positive value of your work, which stays ambiguous.
But I think in general there's a sort of like reflection, like critical reflection on structures, and I remember talking about this with you at one point. And it's not only about like physical structures, but also about metaphysical structuring. And so I think the interesting thing is that you always put the visitor in the condition to say, what the, you know, what am I looking at? Why exactly? But then there's this whole process that is brought to the end product that is actually a process of structuring, and the structuring comes from outside of the art field. And that's very common to practices that are interested in scientific research and kind of engaging with other types of making in general. But I think that the interesting thing is the reflection on actual structuring in general, even structuring knowledge or structuring critical theory or critical thinking. And yeah. 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 I don't know if anybody else wants to say something.
I'm happy that we bring up the term of useless, like not functional, useless. You know, like I think it's really connected to art, being not functional at all, being totally useless in a functional way as design is. You know, and I think it's like all the practice of mockumentary and other kind of medium. It's really interesting for this. Like, I love when something it doesn't bring you to anything. Like in those ways, like it's really functional for your brain, as you was saying, but it's not functional at all in your life. Like it's like again like a game. It's not functional. Like you can stop playing, but it won't bring you money. It won't bring you something real. It's just the time in which it works that is, I think, useless, and it's kind of the reason why I love seeing at artworks, because they are just about, you know, again, they are not functional at all.
I mean, don't you think like this mental aspect you're speaking about cannot affect your everyday practice or life, you know, social encounters or...
Probably it is. I can hope that. Like, there is no way to say that it really is, because we have no proofs that it is like that. I hope that it's functional for something real, you know? And that's why I keep doing this stuff. Because in the end, I believe in myself that it's really useful for life. But also as game it is. But in a practical and direct way, it's, you know, it doesn't work. Like, it's not useful. but I'm sure that like there was sometimes like I was seeing an interview to an artist, to Paula Pivi, and they were asking to her, like she was making this work in which there are all white animals. It's a empty room just with white animals, and they were asking, what's the social function of your work? And actually, when you see a room full of white animals, there is no social function at all. Like, you don't think about it. And she said, well, I always talk that art as a social function, but I don't want to think about it in my work right now. Like, I think that is there in some ways. That it's what you were saying. You know, we don't know how and in which way it really affects us in our daily life, but we do, I think we all convinced that it does something, because we won't do this if it was totally useless.
I have to be kind of strict on this because my practice is based on it, so I have to be. The social functionality of art is always there. It never gets erased, or it's always behind the corner. The actual idea of putting out something and making something public is within the actual process of art making. Otherwise, there wouldn't be any kind of aesthetic or any kind of visual kind of creating or any desire to do so. The uselessness is interesting, I think, in society, and because it takes away from the product itself, it takes away responsibility. But the artist, I have just done a project on it, and that's why I'm totally embedded within that theory. The artists themselves, they have a social function more than their actual product, and that is connected to the imaginary that they create with every kind of artwork that they put out in whatever kind of scene. So, for example, it's interesting to see Etienne's work because he's playing in the end with the visitors, in the sense that you can't really get there, you can't really reach it, but it may be functional, but it may not. It's on an island, but it's not. It's in the park, but it's an art museum. So, you know, all these things kind of from an outsider point of view towards the artwork are to be taken into consideration, I think, at the end of the process of making. Not maybe within the process of making. That really depends on how the artist practice or the artist position themselves towards their own practice. But I just want to underline how important it is for all of us to acknowledge what we do and where we do it and who we do it for, and what kind of reaction it can create, even within small communities that could be even here right now, what we're doing, or in a larger social and political sense.
So you are affirming in some way that very embedded in art making is, I think so. I'm just trying to understand if we are on the same line. Like, in art making is embedding the concept of dealing with an audience. Otherwise, you wouldn't be making art at all. Like, I mean, you don't do art for yourself only, but you need to have a code, or at least some kind of language recognized by even a small community, as you were saying. So, and this small community, or which can be really small or larger, in some way, you were telling before, discussing about the non-functionality of an object, but which can be functional in a more metaphysical way. So it's actually kind of a belief in that, like yeah. Yeah,
I don't know, like what you were saying, you were saying something against what I said, not because I want to argument this, but I don't know if I said something that was not upsetting you, but like No, because you said I want to be real about this, but okay, no, about what I was saying, because I was like, yeah, I believe in what she's saying right now, and I said, but yeah, okay, okay. No, of what I said, I just no, okay.
I think Aria, right? Too bad that not all of you were also on Roberto Fassone lecture yesterday on limitation. We were discussing this actually. I think my questions to you were actually exactly on this line, that actually you cannot completely dissociate from the from the environment in which you stand, when you are producing, which implies sociality somehow. It's if you remember, remember I was telling you that no matter how formally you look at your work, there are some readings and I first of all, I was very confused because I expected something else. I know his work only from application, and I'm coming from Zagreb, and I have different reading because I somehow am dealing with somewhere on this track with really social implications also of the artwork that you were also denying all the time. So I think it's really impossible to deny it. And I think she articulated in this sense what I was saying also.
I think it's possible to deny. There are some aspects of me, myself, not as an artist, but as a person that doesn't care about some things, you know? And in my work, I try to be as honest as I can when I do my work. I want to do what I love the most, you know? The fact that has a repercussion on society, of course, you know? But I don't want to modify my work in that way.
But actually the process is different. I saw your work totally modified by the context in which you operate. Like everything that you proposed as your content, your examples in your lecture and all this, is based very much on somehow, I read completely Western position, for example, inside, to be clear.
Well, actually, I have nothing to it's. Yeah, I think you're totally right. Yeah. It's totally right, and also for me, I am really conscious of, and I'm becoming more conscious thanks to you, thanks to what's happening right now, to what is my work from another perspective that I've never seen actually, because I was looking my work from as you said, a formal way, a very structural way. There's nothing to deal with social engagement, with no politics at all, you know? But actually, yeah. While, you know, when I'm doing these, it's really playing to me. It's really categorical, the things I do. So it strikes me, but there's nothing I guess I will be more thoughtful the next time I will do something, but of course it's the way it is. I think it's cool, yeah.
One small remark, I can do it even without a microphone, but when you were putting, these examples of various definitions on art half an hour ago, it was art is emotion, art is beauty, whatever. From where I come from, actually, I would say art is politics, first of all. So somehow, even in this moment when you are trying to somehow show let's say randomly, but nothing is so random actually. What is art? This first aspect, the crucial one, is missing also in your presentation in this kind of art equals politics for me. I can just come, now I'm synthesizing here because I was moderating many presentations here already, and there was presentation of the Tunisia case about contemporary art development. And in one moment, like the curator was presenting, researcher actually, art historian, and I asked in one moment, like, when the notion contemporary art came to Tunisia. And she was explaining me, like, certain historical moments in which this happens, but she stressed that a big boom of production of contemporary art and the big money flow in Tunisia happened after September 11th. So somehow you understand what I'm talking. So this is the...
Totally different view of what we do consider art nowadays. Like, it's really a different way of working and looking at things. Like, it really happens very often that in art, I found people that it's kind of really different. Like, even like it's maybe I'm more closer to, you know, a game designer than to a curator, or I don't know. Like, it really often happens that you're very different. Like, I don't know. Every time happens this, but.
Can I just say something, because it's really interesting? It's like, I have the impression that all these practices, consciously or unconsciously, are working on this conflict between the level of interpretation of intention and the level of reception, which are two totally different levels. It's like production is under control, reception is not under control. So when you say, for example, art is politics, my question is, what is politics for you? I mean, it's about positioning, it's not about definition. Right? I mean, because, for example, I have a different understanding of politics because I'm Italian. I was intellectually raised in France, so my interpretation of politics is totally different from yours. And I was raised, for example, as a cultural worker in a totally different situation than yours. So, for example, I could also say, it's not that his work is not working. It's just that his working is working so well because it's producing conflicts between these two levels. Because it doesn't create indifferences. I don't know, it's maybe a little bit metaphorical or poetical, but it's really, I wanted to speak about that on a very analytical level. So it's about how the work of art is structured. And this is why we talk about pure structure yesterday. Radicalize the work so that the work becomes pure, a pure structure that can be applied or fooled with different contexts or covered with different interpretations. So, I don't know, but...
Yeah, no, I think it's also, we are complexifying the situation, you know, it's like, it's kind of obvious that we have all different backgrounds, all different experiences, all different stories, all different tastes, and blah, 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 and blah, blah. So, starting from that, if we know how to respect each other and to communicate together and to try to have a dialogue, and that's for me like kind of center of my work is this idea of dialogue. I mean, then, you know, we can go over this like super depressive post-modernism way of looking at things, you know? It's like, let's go away from this nebula of like nothingness, you know? It's like, I mean, we can use our different experience, I think, to, you know, to communicate simply and to work together or not, you know, and to have critical approach and to disagree. But I think it's more like for me, it's more like a positive source, you know, this variety of people, like here, you know, because of course when I look at a work from Syria or Egypt, like it was a case with the Egyptian band that came to play, you know, great guys. But as a French guy, looking at, you know, the French media with the French history in Egypt and all these things, it's extremely complicated to have, or like, you know, the Yugoslavian conflict, you know, how can I possibly understand one thing, you know? But let's also try to understand, you know, let's try to be interested and to think that you know, we can go somewhere, because like for me, if it's just to be like, again, I'm not against total for the postmodernism era, but I think it's so fucking depressing, these guys, you know. So, you know, like Baudrillard is an amazing poet, but in the end, you know, when you read his text, there is no hope, you know. It's just like or what's his name, Virio, you know. It's like, it's amazing, it's beautiful, you know, beautiful works, but it's so depressing, you know, and because there is no hope for you know, creating or like going further, basically. And if we, you know, and that the title of this biennale is really good for that. You know, we make errors, we make errances a lot, and we go forward, and we try to go forward. Yeah.
Let's skip. Well, don't take me as the bad guy here, huh? No, but I think that the conflict is. I agree with the fact that there's a conflict within, and I am coming from the point of a curator. I don't know if you are as well, but I think so. And there's a completely different way of understanding the artwork. I look at it from outside. I look at the social functionality of it. I look how the artists work within their process. I look how the work could function within a context that I maybe create, or within the urban context that I work with. So that said, I still believe that there is this kind of constant negotiation between certain notions, and that has not been overcome at all, which is a pity for some. It's interesting for others. It's depressing for others again. But this idea of making something public, and I would really use the word public more than anything. Not social, not political, not anything. It's just about exposing your own ideas and exposing your own practice, and working on that publicness of art making brings it to a completely different level, and the awareness of that publicness, I think, is something that should not be forgotten in some way. I wasn't talking about the political backlash of works. I wasn't talking about the social implication of anything, although that is my expertise. I was, though, addressing how it is important to take into consideration the moment in which you put yourselves out, and the otherness of the people that engage with your work.
It's interesting. I imagine, like, I will ask you, like, when you say this, like, when you said that an artist should take under consideration how the public behave in front, or like react, what actually should think about, like, you know, like, practically?
Well, I can give you the example of Etienne's work. I mean, it comes from a research that he did. It comes from an idea that he had, and he, within the selection of the materials, the way he was making the work, and the position it had to have. You know, even I think that all decisions that were made were depending on an idea that he had, and the selective process of the making makes the context for publicness. I mean, the actual choice of using green within green, the actual choice of putting a tree house at 3 meters tall when people can't get there, the actual choice of using a tree house. These are all symbolic and iconic sort of actions and images that obviously have relevance within the practice, but they also have relevance for a public who comes across the work, as Simone said. So I think in that actual, it's not only about the practicality of it, but it's also, and the pragmatics of the art making, but also of the critical awareness of what kind of materials you are working with, what kind of ideas, images, where you're putting them, who you're addressing, why are you addressing them. I mean, those kind of questions actually come naturally. They don't even have to be imposed in some kind of way. But when you are critically, socially, and politically engaged, there are a multiplicity of levels that are taken into consideration before you even start the process of making. There's just a different way of doing art. And as I agree with the fact that Etienne was saying that we do need to respect each other's positions and kind of enter in dialogue, but also regarding the fact that there is a political implication within those artists that work in the socially engaged that has a multiplicity of levels, as well as those who are not interested in becoming politically engaged within their own process. It's the same. There are two different ways of approaching the art making. Do you agree?
I don't know, like, I studied also design, and you know, like, and there was always this attention to the audience and to the target, you know. It was kind of frustrating for me, you know, because I had to deal with also that constraint that maybe I didn't want to deal. Like, when I'm making art, actually, the great things to me, it's also that I should, like, kind of, like, I think about the audience, but I think about the audience because I want the audience to understand what I'm doing. Like, understand something, like, you know, see this work and say, this is there because that, this is there because that. But I don't want to, you know, like, think too much about it. Like, you know, if I understand the work, like, I took always myself, you know, as a spectator. I said, okay, if I go to an exhibition and I saw this work that is mine, would I like it? You know, like, I take myself as an audience. Like, I don't want to think too much about actually a real audience, because it's so diversified, you know, like, it's just not one audience. Like, everyone is different. Everyone could look at your work in a different way and could get a negative point of view that you didn't want at all. Like, you cannot control everything on your work. You cannot have that control on the audience, because there will always, like, what she said to me yesterday, I was totally like, okay, I didn't take under consideration, but at the time in which I made it, I wasn't able to take this under consideration at all. Like, it didn't, like, pass through my mind at all.
Well, I'm probably going to go get a drink because I've been talking for 2 days now in Zurich. So really, I think this is my last intervention. But I just wanted to say that I saw a piece by Hila Paik, who is a curator. And I saw it actually last night, and it was really, really interesting because she created a trial, a fictional trial, in which she asked Chus Martinez, Vasif Kortun, Charles Esche, Anton Vidocle to participate. And the interesting thing is the fact that Charles Esche makes his opening, and I don't know if you saw that. Yeah, it's really great. And he makes his opening, he says, artists shouldn't take any kind of responsibility. We should be responsible for the artists. Artists should have all the liberty whatsoever to work. And we're the ones, as curators, who should be in the position to promote them. And I was just thinking, you know, Charles Esche actually said that. So there's an overlapping of understanding art, understanding cultural production, understanding knowledge production. And it's really more, which was coming out, the interesting thing that was coming out from the conference was the fact that it's really more about being transversal than actually about taking positions. And I just did a project on taking positions, and it was a total disaster on one hand, but also an interesting conflict because everybody was asked to take their own position, politically, socially, as artists. But the idea of being transversal within critical discourses, within art making and political engagement and social engagement, I think is more I think it's the most interesting way we can actually make art today, because we are embedded within a society that is highly connected. Whatever you do is online in the instant in which you do it. We're actually being photographed. My voice is being recorded. I mean, you cannot not think about the otherness of what is going on, because we are already out there, and we're already online, and we're already public, and we're in a public space. So the only really important thing, I think, within this talk that's coming out is actually entering into dialogue, but being really aware of where you are and how you work, and for yourself and for whoever is going to see the piece. So yeah, that's my closing argument. Thank you.
We have one last speaker, which is Fabian, that we have here. So I will let him talk before that the performance is going to take place down there, kills us in terms of conversation. Sorry? This is an expectation, I'm not... Sure. So, actually, the first version of the project measuring was called Permanent Research Project on Space. So the term of inobjectivity came out later. So the first focus of this project was space, and not space in general, not just the abstract notion of space, but the notion of lived space that comes from phenomenology and actually from contemporary art philosophy in general. So we were interested in not just the spatial extension, but we were interested into spatial intensity. So how do we go through spaces? Do you see the link? A little bit? Okay. So, and we were interested in this triple dimension that came out also during this talk. Like, how can we articulate an understanding of space without any pretension of exclusivity? I mean, in a structural way, but also in a social way or in a political way. So, this is the link I'm making to your work. Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah, you also asked me to present during our conversation the work I present up there. And yeah, first I really would like to start to show like the first piece, which is called Selected Recordings. And actually this is also the shorter one. And it is, I can do it. And it is influenced by, I mean, the idea came to my mind when I saw, I mean, like TV formats which are in this kind of pseudo-investigative shape. So that, like, people going with camera somewhere and confronting people with something, I don't know, so, and which is made in a very amateur-like way, and which is always only scratching through the surface and not really tries to understand the whole situation, but only like showing, for example, that you're not able to talk to your girlfriend or something like this. So like really like only like watching the surface. And these kind of TV formats are also in a very, let's say, how do you call it? Like actionistic way? Can you say it? Like action, like actionism? Yeah, something like this. Okay, so and I decided to go with my video camera and just go out in different cities in Europe and film and record at sites where usually or where recording and filming and photographing is not allowed, is forbidden. And I was also interested in the fact that especially these kind of sites are mostly, I mean, especially if they're security relevant, are mostly the sites where already like a lot of, I mean, there's a massive amount of cameras already. So in the end, it's also about. Okay, now I'm missing. So in the end, it's also about, I mean, who has the power of the image. So, and that's also the other reason why I went there. So may you please play this selected, yes, this one. I mean, you just double click, let's see what happens. Nothing. So maybe you can just make it like this. Okay. Okay. So I just show it to you for, I don't know, for a few minutes.
Okay, why? But it's an impressive building. What kind of...
And my idea was to go on these sites in a very like naive way. I just went there with my camera, recorded. They said to me, okay, it's not allowed to record. And I said, okay, I didn't know. Or, for example, here I explain him it's a very nice garage. That's why I would like to film it and so on. And yeah, this is also very interesting because I explained to them I'm on the street. And that's why it's allowed to film. And then he comes straight to the camera and says, but now you're in my security area, so you can't film it. And I mean, regarding error making, I would say, I mean, this is not about error making, but maybe it's more about error creating. I mean, even if artists are talking about error making, I mean, this is usually something, I mean, you try to avoid. And even if you're doing some kind of errors or make some kind of errors, then you try later, you don't try to show it. So, but this piece is more about error creating, but not on my side, but creating errors on the side of like from the people, because they are security guys and they have to avoid, or they have to avoid that people are filming something. And they say to me, please don't film. And I say, I didn't know, but they don't ask me later, please erase it or something like that. So they already did a huge error or a mistake because they did a bad job. Yeah, because I got some footage. And like the smartest guys are in Belgrade in front of the American embassy. I mean, which is totally crazy that it's not allowed to film there because the whole complex, I mean, it even does not have windows. I mean, you can see nothing from the outside. It's like, and let's say they are really they are profis because they also asked me for my ID card. They asked me to erase the whole material. And that's why I only have these kind of voice recorder recordings, which I had in my pocket. And yeah, so, and this is also very important because this is in the Neues Museum in Berlin, and this is the room where Nofretete is. And I mean, this is one of the images. I mean, it's circulating so much, and it's not allowed to go there. So I cannot shoot it. So, and this is the thing in Belgrade at the embassy. So, and for me, it's also, I mean, my first pieces were more about, I mean, it was like performance pieces, only made for the camera. I was acting alone in a room or something like this. And then later, I also did some work with other groups, or but also some kind of, let's say, research-like works. And so I also try to like connect performance and documentation, let's say. So that's why also these kind of that's why I'm also using this kind of format, let's say. And this also, I mean, especially this, the last image, the last picture is leading us to the next video, because this is in front of the Museum of Contemporary Art in Belgrade. And I mean, when I first time when I came to Belgrade, the museum was still running. So now it's closed since like, I guess since 7 or 8 years. And I mean, this is also a funny story, because when I first came to Belgrade, I mean, I was born in Berlin, and here I'm representing like the Serbian, I mean, I'm one of the Serbians. Yeah. But I mean, I like it very much. I mean, this is like also, let's say, some kind of provoked error, because I was applying as a Serbian artist. I mean, and everybody, of course, noticed that I'm not. But yeah, so, but it's nice. I mean, yeah, sure.
Which is the best display you think for your video? Because you're talking about, let's play with documentation. Let's play with categories. Your work is like documented performance. Let's try to speak about that in these terms. So which is the best display for your video? Because this is, it's clear that it's not a video made for, like for being displayed in a, how can I say that? Well, let's erase the second part of the question, just answer the first part.
Okay, I mean, to answer this question, I think it's the best way just to show you 2 examples on how I already presented and how I would like to present this piece in the future. The first, when I showed these selected recordings video first time, this was also some kind of festival format. It was like a festival on photography. And I just built a kind of like wooden thing, which is, I don't know which is the real, like the English word, but in German it's called something like fan barrier or something like this. So usually it's made out of metal, and it's like a barrier, and if you stand in front of the barrier, you cannot like push it, you know, because your feet are holding it. So it's just like, so maybe, so it's like 2 modules. So here you can see it. So if you just step there, you cannot, like, it cannot move. And I just put it in the room and made a projection. But I mean, if you ask me how to present video pieces, then I have to say that it's always different. I mean, because I'm not someone who would say, okay, I created a video piece, and then if you show it in any kind of exhibition, it always has to be this kind of projector, this kind of room, this kind of whatever. So for me, it's really important, and it's also some kind of process that my work can always be seen in different sites and in different states. So, and also, but also being combined with other video works. And so this is for me like really important, that not to like, not being that ideological to think, okay, now it's ready and this is the shape for the piece. So I always show it in different conditions, and sometimes it works, sometimes not. So but I always try to change the style, let's say. Yeah.
If we are talking about this video here in a exhibition, Fabian had a completely different demand. In fact, he wanted to somehow block the passage actually with video really physically presented in this kind of sense. But since this biennial is done on distance, and we were here working with architects before, and it's really production conditions really somehow affected this. So this is what we got.
It's a matter of reading how you read the work, because actually I saw the video in this display and I had a totally different expectation, because I expected from your work a display that replicates in a way this condition of limitation, of physical limitation, like, because you're doing a work about intruding, and this can be shown to me in a very simple way, easy way. I have to do a sort of work, have to get to the work not in an easy way. It's like not get the work in his whole form. It's about limit, but also loss of information. I can't have all the information about your footage. This is the expectation I have. But
yeah, I'm not sure if this was a question. I mean, it was more a comment, I guess. But yeah, just, I mean, yeah, because I mean, usually I always try to think about I mean, not showing only video, but also to add some kind of installative gesture or whatever. So I mean, it's very rare that I just only have projection or only have a monitor or something like this. I mean, especially monitors, I mean, they are like so, I mean, I don't like them at all. I mean, so it looks like I don't know, at a Technic store or something like this. So, yeah.
I'm sorry to come back to a subject before, but I don't understand something about your work, so I would like to know more. You spoke about error, that the guys, you know, security guys are making mistakes, but how can you claim that they are making a mistake because you are provoking the mistake? You are provoking the mistake. You are provoking them in their own territory. You know, it's like, so I'm wondering, like, how do you position yourself towards that? Because you know that they won't allow you to film. So I would like you to reflect on that.
So you're right. I mean, I'm really provoking the mistake. I mean, they can't act another way. But what I was saying was that if they would really act in a professional way, then they would also there will be some consequences. For example, deleting material and so on. So, but they're really polite, and I guess the reason why they're so polite is that most of them know that these kind of rules are stupid. You know? Because if it would be really security relevant, yeah, really, like if I'm shooting something with like Area 51 and Alien, something like this, then they wouldn't let me go with my material. So they are aware that this kind of, I mean, and it's not only, I mean, they call it security relevant, but in the other hand, I really ask myself, I mean, what can I do? I mean, even if I'm like the most wanted terrorist worldwide, I mean, what can I do with these kind of pictures? Because I can also go to Google Street View, and then I really have like good material of the embassy in Belgrade, for example. So I didn't check it out, but I made like image search, and then you can see images of the, I don't know, if, Street View, I guess it's not working in Belgrade. Yeah. But however, I mean, if you look for pictures of these sites, then you definitely find better pictures than I did. So.
Have you ever think about that? Maybe it could be interesting work on the restitution of the material that you record to the institution, because you are very focalized on in a negative way, in the absence of a demand. of the material, because it's a stupid rule, etc., etc. But maybe your display could be something. The recontextualization of the material that you stole, for example, I think could be very interesting, because you could be replace the material in the origin of the mistake, I think. Have you ever think about this?
No, I didn't, but I'm thankful for your for your comment. I mean, when I say something like, yeah, it's a stupid rule and something like this, I'm not an activist, you know? So for me, it's, for me as an artist, it's important to, first of all, it's very important to have the opportunity to create images. And even this rule, there is this kind of rule, but anyway, I did some, you know? That's why it's not only criticizing these kind of regulations. Because some of them, also the reason why they put up these rules are different. For example, when they say to me in the museum, I can't film it, then it's some completely other reason, because it's not security relevant. It's more about that they need, they need to have the copyright of the image. So it's more about money or whatever, or just the wish of another artist that he wants to own his own images, you know? So they're also like, I really understand this. So that's why the work is not only criticizing, I can't film. But it's like on both sides, I would say. I don't know if this is some kind of answer, but
I ask you this because it's very interesting, connecting to the answer of Simone in relation to the display of this video, for example, that change every time, etc., etc. Maybe I don't know. Maybe could be some. I don't know. I just think that the display is something that reorganize this material, and not to give a role of I don't know, as a monitor or as a projection, as something like this. Only this way.
So I understand you in this way, that you're more thinking about having a presentation which is not repeating the video, but more reorganizing or put it in other contexts, and not only like showing, okay, it's like this. Yeah. Okay. So, I would like to show you the second piece, which is, in my opinion, quite different. How to deal with this, or how does it work? This is not. Now I have it. So, and this one is called Permanent Exhibition, and it was shot last year in the Museum of Contemporary Art in Belgrade. And the whole video is about, I guess, 15 or 16 minutes, and this is like a short excerpt, but I just let it run. And it's, this is maybe the only one which is in common with the other video. It's based on a very simple idea, and because as I already mentioned, the museum is closed for now 7 years because for renovation, And the idea, but the renovation goes for 7 years, I mean, which is crazy. So everybody is told me, yeah, it's for political reasons. Politicians does not want to give money to the Museum of Contemporary Art. And so since the last 7 years, it's some kind of construction site, but there's also a guard and some cleaning ladies. I mean, it's not really clear, and they already renovated the cellar, like the, how do you call it, the floor under the first floor. It's the cellar, yeah. And what is also funny or interesting is, I mean, it's not funny. What is also sad is that, for example, the whole collection of the museum is now in the treasury of the National Bank. And if the museum really wants to act like a museum, for example, making collaborations with other museums in Europe, what they did, because, I mean, it was like a really known and very good museum, then they have to go to National Bank, and I mean, it means a lot of bureaucracy, and it's almost impossible to for the museum to deal with their art, I mean, which is part of their collection. So it's like, I mean, I really must say I cannot imagine how. So the simple idea was to ask Dejan Sretenovic, who is still working in the museum or in the institution, I must say, because the building does not really exist. Dejan Sretenovic did the last permanent exhibition, the permanent show in the museum, and I was asking him to make a guided tour with me and try to remember the whole pieces and just go with me through the museum. And so this was the only thing I asked him, and first he was like, but I can't, first I have to go browse through what was the exhibition about. And then I was pushing him, no, you don't have, please don't look up any material, just go with me to this place. And then I just followed him with my video camera, and he was performing in front of a non-existing audience. And I must say he did it very well. I mean, he also said hello to the guys, and he, I mean, you will see it in the end. I mean, I can show you later. And so I did the shooting, and then afterwards I also added some little, yeah, how do you call it? How do I call it? It's like little actions or whatever, which is showing someone who is, for example, like cleaning the windows or putting nails in the wall, and this is maybe also an aspect which is related to the video, to the first video we saw, because it's always about maybe not accepting some kind of status quo and always trying to think about, I mean, how to deal with these kind of settings. And the very cool story behind it is that I was also proposing to him to show my work in the museum's complex, and first he said, it's probably not possible. And then we wasn't in contact for a few months, and then he was calling me and said, hey Fabian, please send me a DVD. In the next week we are opening a show on the construction site. And he was also inviting other artists and who are dealing with this kind of empty space. So this was like, for me, a very good outcome. I mean, it wasn't me who did it, but it was, yeah, very important for me. So, and then, yeah, you can see what they showed there. So I just want to show you, how. So and there were also other people who were. I can tell you later. So this is the end. I'm at your disposal. So he's a very good actor. Thank you very much, and so on. Have a nice day. Yeah, that's it. I'm finished.
I was asking a question to, yeah, no, I was trying to say our colleague, because my question was about how do you perceive this work as a cultural worker? Is it really useful? Is it outside the art world? It's like, is it really telling something about the situation? Because actually it's a generalized situation also in Italy. It tells a lot also about the Italian situation. So it tells something to me as a cultural worker, as a director of a space now in Milano, and I was wondering if it's telling the same thing to you, concerning also the idea of geographical training, geographical positioning that we were talking about before.
No, I mean, I don't understand. Like, are you saying now that geography and geography doesn't matter somehow? No, I'm. Well, we selected it. That means it mattered. It mattered to us, first of all. No, first of all, as I was telling you, out of the public, like privately, yeah, this is really heavy story, and I know a little bit about the museum. I know how important it was historically, what a strong collection it had, and how local artistic and wider community perceives this. It's really a symptom of state, non-existing state policy towards public institutions, because you have National Museum of Serbia in the main square closed even longer, I think, I don't know, 10 years or something like that. And then Contemporary Art Museum in New Belgrade, which is kind of no matter now, also closed. So somehow it's really, I don't know, like crazy situation. A reason why National Museum is closed is because, let's put it very, very simply, it seems that political leaders cannot decide which identity should National Museum present. So it's really kind of a confusing situation. So I think this video is quite interesting, especially because, not especially, but it's interesting that it comes from the outsider, like somebody who was living in Belgrade for 1 year and understood the heaviness of the situation also.
I thought you want to say something.
It's a very nice walk.
So maybe we are done. I just want to thank you everybody for your participation. It was really interesting and I really liked it, and it's really useful for us for continuing the project. We have really good inputs, and that's it. Thank you. It's over.